Hello, YouTube. We're going over another hyper aggro deck, and this one is one that I keep alluding to in like my guide and my whenever I talk to people about hyper aggro, that Amber Emerald might honestly be better, or at least it's closing in. If you're interested in learning more about hyper aggro, consider getting my guide in the description below through Metafy. And if you're looking for more specific instruction on hyper aggro or in Lorcana in general, I'm not just solely a hyper aggro player. Consider getting my coaching. I still have a deal going on where the first 10 coaching sessions are $10. I might have to bump that down to the first 5 coaching sessions, but regardless, it's cheap and easy still. Then, yeah, that's enough shilling. Let's get back into it. Now, if you're a true OG, and I mean a true OG, you'll know that Amber Emerald was actually one of my first ideas for a better hyper aggro list. Because my initial idea for hyper aggro was just taking Amber, Amethyst, cutting Mims, and then I was like, what if we just move to Amber Emerald and make it so that we have more characters? We've gone full circle now. I then re-included Madame Mims, and then I cut Madame Mims again, and now we're going back to Amber Amethyst. So that was just a fun fact. But why this deck now? And the big reason, okay, so Amethyst Amber and Amber Emerald, both of them have Amber, of course. And Amber is just really strong because it has the backbone of Daisy, Lilo, Wendy Darling, Baloo, Donald, and Tiana. These cards just let you win mid-range matchups, not for free, but they give you 50-50s or favored times into them. This is for all the reasons I've highlighted in my guide and in the past, but basically, with your bodyguards, you can set up a wall that makes your opponent have to take really awkward decisions or lines in order to stop you from winning the game. And oftentimes, if you're able to set up 2 bodyguards and then quest with your characters behind them, you just win the game. Okay, nice. Now, why Emerald over Amethyst? The big reason for Emerald over Amethyst is Cursed Merfolk and Ursula Deceiver. These two theoretically help solve a lot of the awkwardness of hyper aggro. Now, here's the problem. I am not tested enough with Emerald Amber yet. I I just haven't gone around to it properly yet, you know? But the reason why Curse Merfolk and Ursula can theoretically help more into your worst matchup of Amber Steel is because, first off, Ursula gets rid of song cards, which can protect your Tiana more and your other characters more. And Cursed Merfolk, in a really roundabout way, forces your opponent to go 1-for-1 with him, or them, sorry, it's 2 Cursed Merfolks in the artwork here, well, a lot of Cursed Merfolk, is that if they challenge Cursed Merfolk, they're forced to discard a card from their hand, which can actually slow down your opponent's ability to hard lock you in very significant ways. One of the things you can do is play Cursed Merfolk turn 1, play Ursula turn 2, get rid of a song card, and then either quest or hold back Cursed Merfolk based on the information you get off of Ursula. That is the big sort of combo here. Then the other big deal is that you gain access to Pegasus Cloud Racer. Pegasus gives another effectively checkmate scenario potential where you go turn 1 Daisy, turn 2 quest with Daisy, play Pegasus plus another 1-drop, turn 3 shift out Pegasus, quest with Owl, they can't interact with them because they're evasive, and then you've just gone way ahead on board state. Now, this doesn't set up bodyguards, but it does guarantee, or often guarantees, that you can quest with your characters twice. The problem is that we've reintroduced an old problem of hyper aggro by cutting Amethyst for Emerald, and that is non-interaction. So the reason why I made my guide on Amethyst Amber and not Emerald Amber is because not having Befuddle, Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom, and Merlin Goat is a very big deal. Like a huge deal, since what these cards let you do, first off, Befuddle gives you an answer into your literal worst matchups where Amber Steel can now be disrupted enough with Befuddle to the point where you're able to get ahead of them. And then Merlin Goat and Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom late game are guaranteed sources of lore. Now, we haven't gotten rid of all of our guaranteed sources of lore. We do still have stuff like Blue, and then that's it. That's the problem. Blue is the only card left in the deck that gives lore from hand when you play him. And since the problem that hyper aggro hits is closing out games, right? Closing out games can be very brutal since your opponent often has resources or enough resources to just constantly kill the characters you're playing out. So being able to play characters that gain lore or cards from hands that gain lore is very important at the end of the game. If your opponent is ever able to wipe your board and then keep wiping the characters that you keep playing, you're kind of left up the creek without a paddle, which is where you're hoping Ursula is really able to snipe one of the important cards. Do not get me wrong, Ursula being able to snipe those cards is really valuable. It's just she is 4 cards out of 460 that is able to do that. Theoretically, there's a way of including stuff like bare necessities. I haven't found a way to fit it in properly, maybe over chip or something, but then you make invited to the ball worse, and we'll get into that in 1 second. It's just that Ursula is unreliable for disrupting your opponent enough to actually win the game. You will get her often enough in the matchups that you need her because of the shenanigans of the stats of how mulliganing works in Lorcana. If you hard mulligan for Ursula, I think it's something like a 76% chance that you draw her, if I'm remembering my math correctly. But she's here in order to let you not lose, you know? And how valuable is not losing when you can just win by playing a goat and a gathering knowledge and wisdom late game, right? That's the question. The question is mainly answered by how often and how valuable is Go-Go Tamago going? Because Go-Go Tamago basically fulfills the same role that Goat does, where she's able to get you 2 lore or 1 to 2 lore on average late game, which replaces stuff like the White Roses gain lore effect. And we do have chip, so long as you have a character still out, which this deck often does even after a board wipe, you're often guaranteeing the lore. It's just that you start slowing down the more upper end your characters become. But again, we also now have more card draw in Clarabelle, which she's now a replacement card. You can play her out, draw a card, have a body out that can now combo with Donald Duck or Chip, And then you have Hans, which a 3-3 late game can be really hard for your opponent to deal with. And then Invited to the Ball is able to draw you 2 cards very frequently on average. Like, it's so close. The biggest problem is no more Befuddle. Befuddle is the big card that's missing from Amber Emerald. And that's because Befuddle lets you win the mirror match. If you're in a mirror match, a hyper aggro mirror, Befuddle can swing the game in your favor, so you're not as reliant on the coin flip. As well, Befuddle is very valuable into mid-range matchups. Go figure. Befuddle lets you quest for free on turn 2 if you're on the play, which is a big deal because you're still establishing a character. You're not going down any card. You're going down 1 card to go up 2 to 6 lore, and it's able to disrupt some key cards like Flynn Rider or Madame Mim Snake in purple. But with Amber Emerald, you now no longer have these options of disruption, of messing with your opponent, of being able to quest turn 1, unless Cursed Merfolk's discard ability is as valuable or almost as valuable as Befuddle's ability. That is the question. And it's close. This deck is close to surpassing Amethyst Amber just due to having more flexibility and more speed and more reliability, because setting up a wall of characters can be really annoying sometimes with hyper aggro, but having the backup effect of Pegasus to set it up even sooner, not having to set it up for turn 4, but instead turn 3, can help you win more matchups, you know? And then you can play your Ursula after you set up Pegasus to snipe away the removal for Pegasus or their board wise. Like, it's there. It's almost there. It's just lacking more non-interaction lore sources. Go-Go Tamago is good. Baloo is good. We're missing 1 card that can gain lore from hand immediately in order for this deck to surpass Amethyst Amber. And also, maybe not, because once again, you need to answer the question of, is Curse Merfolk as valuable or more valuable than Befuddle? But that's gonna be it for me. I've yapped enough about this deck, and this is going to be, well, I won't promise that this is going to be the last hyper aggro deck for a while, but I've spent so much time on hyper aggro. I should go back to my other decks that I need to work on now. So I wish you all good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk. I hope to see you next time. If you haven't considered hitting that subscribe and like button, please do so. Again, I'm pretty sure I already shilled about the Metafy guide and the coaching at the start. But once again, if you're interested in that, the links will be in the description. And I hope to see you all next time. Consider joining us Discord as well. We're pretty chill there. Bye!